An ERP is enterprise resource planning. It is trying to make sure that in one place, all of the essential things that help you run your business are managed. ERPs initially were formed around manufacturing processes. So if I'm building a car, how do I make sure all the parts are showing up at the right time, all the materials I need are there, and where individual pieces are in the development process of building that vehicle. ERPs are really good at managing processes that, for example, go down an assembly line and they go in a fixed order. And you can then look over time to see how efficient is each step and what are things that we can do to improve those pieces. So they're good at tracking processes. They're good at making data available for each step in that process. And they're good at handling large amounts of information and components going through a process and turning them into products that can be sold for revenue. Historically, ERPs have cost a lot of money to get set up and get into place. They're very hard to update and change because any customization has to be reapplied, and it's hard to stay on the latest version of it. So the first challenge with ERPs is the inflexibility, that it's hard to adjust as your business adjusts. The second is people have tried to apply ERPs to areas that they weren't designed for. Of course, you can get software as big as an ERP and customize it to do things that wasn't originally intended to do. But the more of that you do, one is you've got a very complicated system that may not be as simple as possible for the users. And again, it gets into the more I change it, the harder it is to maintain it. In general, when people try to use an ERP for a problem it wasn't designed to solve, they're going to get in trouble. In addition, if it's a big bloated piece of software that can do 90 things, then it's likely that you're carrying along a lot of baggage that makes it harder to change and move, and you're going to be less agile as a business. Once people get using an ERP, inevitably they find that it doesn't do everything they need it to do. And additionally, they find that to get a change in the ERP is extremely complicated, right? If it's a flag that you can just turn on, great. But if you really need something that's not just right in front of you, it's going to be complicated to get a change. So, people once in a while will go and actually update and enhance their ERP. But many times they're going to find a workaround, either within the ERP, use a field for something it wasn't intended to be used for, do extracts from the ERP to put them in spreadsheets or a custom system, or bring in additional tools to plug into their ERP. So maybe they have their ERP, but it's not designed for a CRM type application. So they need to add a CRM to manage their people, or they need an HRIS for their human resources. So a lot of times people will start bolting on systems to their ERP, or creating workarounds or custom forms or things in order to do it. And all of those things make your environment more and more complex and make it harder to change your ERP, harder to change your business when the market needs it. And in the end, you end up with a mess that's not driving you where you want to go. It's kind of an anchor holding you back from being able to move quickly. When you initially set up an ERP, you have to get a lot of data loaded into it. And once it's up and running, the data inside the ERP is very quick for you to be able to see and view in real time and so forth. But data that's in other systems that you've bolted on or that you've never integrated is often lagging, and you now have a data synchronization issue where it's going to take time to synchronize the data. It's going to take time to see what's happening in the other systems and get a holistic picture of your overall environment. When you have your ERP up and running, you've got a lot of data coming from, that historically was in a lot of different systems that's now all in your ERP, and you have a lot of visibility to that data. Your data that's not in your ERP it definitely has a lag, but in addition, as your business changes, the data that's important, the data you need, and the data you want to track is likely to change, and it's very cumbersome and costly for you to adjust most ERPs as the world's changing. So if you're in a business where your market is being disrupted, or where agility is required, an ERP is going to be something that makes it hard to respond to those markets. That's going to make it hard to adjust, and the data is going to be complicated to keep up to date. The core difference between an ERP and a PSA is that a PSA, professional service automation product, is designed around managing the flow of people, and an ERP is traditionally designed around managing the flow of parts and resources like materials or components of a product, and managing the development and of that product. So when you're looking at what a PSA does really well, is it'll help you look at, are there enough people for my project? Are there enough projects for my people? Where am I at in the sales pipeline? What people are joining the organization? What people are leaving the organization? It's a very people-centric tool first, that then drives into things like revenue, cost of goods sold, and so forth. Businesses that should look at a PSA versus an ERP are businesses that tend to use a lot of services and people to deliver their work. So if you have staffing, or you're selling people's time, or project-based work where most of the expense is labor, a PSA is a purpose-built application that's designed to handle people-centric type businesses, like a technology consulting company, an engineering consulting company, a project-based company that does work where most of the work is people. Those are businesses that want to look at a PSA because it's built for their type of business. An ERP is, as I've said before, started in the manufacturing space and has moved to some other spaces, but it's really designed ideally for places where you're building a product, where you're taking components and trying to track all of the costs that are going through a process toward building that product, and then looking at how do we get more and more efficient with that, right? And while there's similar things that are produced on the back end, like a revenue projection or a cost of goods sold, the type of data, the type of information, and the types of decisions are different. One of the big differences is that people's time, once you've lost that time, you can never recover it, right? Where materials, while there's a cost to them sitting in a warehouse, you can actually use them later, right? But if people's time, once you lose that time, let's say you don't have work for someone lined up for a week, then you can't get back that time. That revenue possibility is gone. That time's gone, and therefore a PSA, and specifically the PSA that we've developed, is designed to be very forward-looking, to make sure that I can see what's coming, I can predict the future, and therefore I don't have those gaps in time. While you might be able to figure that type of thing out with an ERP, it's not designed around that concept. It's not, kind of built in to its core. So if you're running a services-based business, a PSA is definitely a tool that you're going to want to look at. So, great PSAs will have attributes that really are designed around the services business. So first of all, it needs to be future focused, so that it's not looking at what happened in the past and looking at costs. It's more looking at what do the next 3, 6, and 9 months look like. What's going to happen, and giving us enough visibility and insights so that we can then change that reality and adjust what's going to happen. They also need to be scalable, not just scalable from I put a lot of users on it, will it perform, but will it grow with my business? Day one, I may have, a fixed set of projects that's fairly simple, and over time, I may grow to having many markets and many different practices that I need to be able to track this information from. It needs to be sliceable, where I can look at different areas of the business. So I can look at, how is the company performing within my market? How is the company performing within certain skill sets, or practices? How are things performing, in a variety of different ways? Like, how am I doing with my salaried employees or my contractors or what have you? It needs to be traceable. So, services businesses are constantly changing. There's always new projects, new people, and there's a lot of things that change over time. We need to be able to see, what did it look like 30 days ago? What does it look like today? And be able to trace and see exactly what changed and when it changed. So those are kind of some key attributes of a PSA that when you're looking at them, you want to make sure are there, because it's essential that the software supports your business and doesn't constrain your business. So over the last number of years, I've found that two things are constantly changing. First of all, now more than ever, everybody is not in the same room. And 20 years ago, we often could sit in an office and plan out who's going to go on what project. Even 5 years ago, pre-pandemic, that was less and less common, and people were all over the place. And today, with remote work and so forth, people are rarely in the same office in order to work through the details of these things. So one thing PSA software helps is by providing a common view, or a virtual view in cyberspace of all of these decisions, so that everyone, wherever they're at, can see what's happening and participate in the decision making of what's the next step in that, in that staffing plan or what have you. The second thing is that things seem to move faster and faster and faster. So, you don't have a week to get back to the client and say whether you have a staffing plan or not. You don't have, You just don't have time to to wait. And the longer things are sitting in your side of the organization, the the more opportunity there are for competitors or other people to move faster than you. So another thing that you know PSA software, and specifically the software we've been writing, can do is not only just put all that data in one place, but we have insights that can help you get to the answer more quickly, right? It tells you the root cause of an issue or the current reality of your business. So you don't have to go looking for that. And then it will advise you on what options are within that current reality. So if I can move faster, then I'm going to be better off. And something that I've seen over years now is that things just keep seeming to move faster and faster. And PSA software can be a good tool to help you do that in a sustainable way. I think when you're looking at your business, I would start with identifying what type of business I have. Is it a services business? Is it a manufacturing business? Is it a thought leadership business? Is it a publisher? What is my business? And then I would look for software that was designed for my business. So if you're looking at your business and you say, look, we're a services business, we have a lot of people who go do projects and deliver things, and most of our expenses are payroll, then PSA software is a perfect fit. Then when you're looking at that software, you need to make sure that that software is flexible and adaptable, and ultimately that it's going to put you in a stance where you can be managing your business and not trying to react to things that happened in the past. So what you want to do is be able to be forward facing, managing the future, understanding the current reality, and then working to change it. So ERPs are also purpose-built. So if you have a business that an ERP was built for, then that's a great choice. But trying to take software that either was built for all businesses that's completely generic, that takes a lot of work to customize and really get specific to your business, or that was designed for another type of business and trying to change it to yours, is just going to get you focused more on the software than on running your company. So look for the purpose of your business and then pick the software that was designed for that type of business. Oftentimes we get asked whether you should choose a PSA or an ERP when looking for software to manage your business. We specifically build a ERP or a PSA that is designed for services-based businesses. ERPs tend to be designed around manufacturing and other types of businesses. So the first thing to look at when you're trying to decide, should I be using a PSA or should I be using an ERP, is what type of business I have. If the majority of your expense in your business is labor, then a PSA is probably a great fit for you. If the majority of your expense is something other than labor, then an ERP is probably a great fit for you. So the first thing, that's the first test is it where is my money spent? And a professional services automation software is designed to manage people expense and to align that to demand and to hiring and so forth. The other piece of that, when looking at it, is, am I a services business? So if I deliver people for so many dollars per hour, or I deliver projects where I have a team that delivers results, that's the services part in professional services automation. So if you have that type of need, then PSA software is a great fit. Some of the strengths of ERPs being the fact that your data is centralized and it's easy to get your data quickly, and that it handles multiple aspects of the business are also strengths of PSAs. So in a PSA, your data for sales, for staffing, for financial projections are all in the same tool, in the same centralized place. And it's just different data, and it's more specialized to what you need. Some of the times, things I've heard when people are trying to implement ERPs is that it's a big upfront cost, and that they become hard to change and adjust as you have as a business. So when you look at that upfront cost, many times it's because you're trying to get the ERP to do something it wasn't specifically designed for. So you have to customize it. Even though it was designed to be customized, now every time you get a new release, you're going to have to deal with that customization. So you've got a product that you need to make work differently in order to run your business. And you start having to make changes and configurations that make it complicated to get up and running, quickly. And then, on the making it hard to change and adjust, ERP is great at giving you all the data and seeing your processes and seeing, for example, all of the parts come together into building a car that can then be sold, right? It can see all of that. It can show you step by step where you're at in that process. But as things change and I have new cars, or I build new products, or my business is being disrupted, and let's say, for example, you sell cars where 99% of your revenue used to be the day you sell the car, and now the revenue comes the day you sell the car, plus subscriptions and added on services that happen throughout the life of that car. It's complicated to get an ERP to take on those new responsibilities, quickly and easily. In addition, they historically have been things that you have your own software with your own customizations, and then when there's changes, you have to then get those applied, and it's very hard for people to stay on the latest version, which means they don't get the latest aspects of it. Great PSA software avoids those things. One is it's purpose built for your business, so you don't have the customization up front, and it can quickly load your data and you can be off and running. As well as there's less need for changes and customizations. And our PSA software is software as a service that's in the cloud. So it's not your responsibility to keep up with the latest releases. The new features will be built and tested and deployed into your environment so that you don't have that added expense of keeping things up to date. So in the end, you need to start by looking at, what's my business? And then if your business is a people-based services business, then PSA software is going to be a great fit for you. So when we're looking at, not just the cost of getting it moving, but what is it going to do for my business? Ultimately, ERPs are designed around efficiency and making it so that my business can operate at a really high efficiency. PSA software has that aspect as well, where we want to make sure that your people are fully utilized, that it's very easy for sales to see what their targets are, for recruiting to know when people are needed, and so forth. And it makes your business much more efficient. But additionally, you need to be much more nimble. So you need to be able to move and adjust as your market or your business adjusts, right? This year, you might be organized around different practices. So each technology is its own practice. And a year after that, you might need to be organized around around regions, because these technologies are all used together in a stack, and it's more important to be local. And so as those things change, you need software that's sliceable and changeable in a very easy way, right? You also need it to be scalable, so that as your business grows, you have multiple regions. You may have multiple managers needing to manage that data. You need to be able to quickly segment who has what permissions, who can do what, and who can manage what data. And then you one of the biggest aspects in a services business is you need that software to be forward facing. So it's looking in the future to see what do we think is going to happen, and what's the current reality. And that way you have the ability to do things that will change that reality. Maybe you need to invest more in sales and marketing. Maybe you need to hire more people. Maybe you need to pull back on hiring, right? All of those decisions, it's essential to know what's happening today. What do we think is happening, in the near and longer term, so that we can make the right decisions to manage the business. So, going back to the original question, if I'm looking at should I use PSA software or ERP software, I would look at the type of business. I would then look at the right purpose-built software for that business, and then I'd be very focused on finding a tool that provides me the right insights. So I'm not trying to analyze the past, that gives me the right insights based on what's projected in the future, so that I can spend most of my time making decisions and solving problems, and not trying to analyze what the root cause of a problem is. PSA software can be extremely valuable for an organization, making them more efficient, more nimble, and helping them grow in a sustainable way.